Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. So most things in this meta are quite straightforward to explain. Tracer isn't as good as before because dive isn't as good, and that's because of Brigitte, and a lot of the anti-dive capabilities going on. Zarya is really good because of how she synergizes with Hanzo, Reinhardt, and Brigitte again. Most people know which heroes are good and bad in this Season 10 meta, but there's one hero that I think most would assume to be good in this meta that just isn't, that being Moira. Today we're going to go over exactly how much her pick rate has fallen across all of the tiers, then we'll go over why that's the case. So let's start looking at overbuff and omnic meta to see how both sides have represented these changes. We'll start with overbuff to check out her pick rate over the last 3 months. On average, she's fallen about 3% across all of the tiers, which isn't a lot, but looking at each of the specific ones, yes, including Plat, her pick rate has actually halved over this amount of time. In Grandmaster alone, her pick rate currently is 0.88%. This was down from 8.5%, which would have made her the 6th most popular hero in that tier. Now it's lower than Doomfist, Ana, and just 0.25% higher than the old Symmetra. Definitely a fall from grace there. Now, the one thing that we've been criticized for on the channel is focusing too much on the higher tiers. Ryan, I hear you say, I'm in gold and I have been in gold my whole Overwatch career. What the pros do and what the Grandmaster players do has zero significance or impact for me. You're right, the meta is more lenient in lower tiers and doesn't matter as much, but to suggest that there's no meta, pattern or structure, regardless of what tier you're in, just isn't true. Like a good example of this is in Grandmaster right now, there's currently 7 heroes that are meta. Everything else just isn't played as much. So it's obvious why Moira is weak there. But looking at Omnic Meta's recent report, we can see that Moira's pick rate has even fallen drastically in the lower tiers where in inverted commas the meta doesn't matter. So even with this argument, Moira is still suffering. This is a graph showing the top 2 heroes that have fallen the most, and in the lower tiers, Moira is behind Zenyatta, which is also very bizarre considering he's more of a staple hero pick at the moment. But that's a nice segue onto why Moira's pick rate across all the tiers, including bronze, has suffered. First of all, let's go over why a lot of people, including myself, assumed that Moira would be much better in this meta than dive. The main answer is that she's a tank loving support. She can output an absolute metric ton of healing onto targets that are close by, like Zarya, Reinhardt, Brigitte. If we saw ourselves in more of a death ball composition, and I can definitely see Moira being more involved than she is currently. She's also great support to push onto objectives. That's why quad tank was so strong, because Moira was the perfect healer for it. But in this meta, quad tank just isn't as strong. It's almost as if quad tank in that situation has been replaced by triple support. But when you have 3 supports, the problem isn't the output of healing, because you have 3 heroes that are designed to do that, right? So you don't need a hero in your team that could do a lot of healing like Moira can to people close by. You want the supports to provide a little bit more utility. Brigitte's good at top up healing, Mercy's good at sort of spot healing specific heroes one at a time. And Zen's orb is alright, it keeps people alive in engagements, but he's more there for the Discord orb. People talk about this being a triple support meta, but that's not to assume that any free supports can be run in this lineup. The lineup of said supports is pretty staple, Zenyatta, Mercy, Brigitte. But even when you're not running triple support, you just take the Brigitte out and you still have Zenyatta and Mercy, and they're the problems that Moira is running into. She's just not as good as those 2 supports. We know for a fact it's not to do with healing output or burst healing, because Moira is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, in this area. In a meta somewhat dictated by snipers, more so than I'd say triple support at this rate, having a resurrected damage boost is pivotal, so when you combine it with a Discord orb from Zen, you have the ability to chunk down a lot of different targets from range. It's a great counter to Brigitte and the Death Ball tank comp, because they can't touch the snipers because they're so far away. Having a Moira in that lineup with Brigitte just kind of puts an extra nail into that coffin when going up against that composition. You have no effective range. And Mercy enables snipers and snipers enable Mercy. It's very much a chicken and egg kind of thing going on there, but Widowmaker helps Mercy out and vice versa. Zenyatta also gives Moira a rough time. Whilst he cannot achieve the same amount of healing as Moira, the Discord orb is a huge bit of utility that you can't go without. He's struggling in the lower tiers as we went over because he's just kind of hard to play. I think that's the main output, and Mercy is the strongest healer there. But ultimately, I feel it's the Transcendence. Graviton Dragon is such a good combo that if you don't have a Transcendence in your lineup, you're going to get team wiped every single time. So it kind of makes Zenyatta a little bit of a must pick, but this, again, strategy composition isn't really as important in the lower tiers than it is in GM and the highest tiers. But as you ramp up and start to climb, it becomes more pivotal. So this is just a brief explanation into why Moira just isn't as good as people may have thought. I certainly remember when playing Brigitte that I was thinking matching this up with a Moira is just such a big output of healing close by. But now that Widowmaker and Hanzo especially are more meta, they're long distance heroes, Pharah too, latching a Mercy onto them to sort of pocket them is a great thing, so you're having a Discord orb and the orb to to throw onto his teammates to keep them alive is good. The effective range is a lot stronger because of that. That's why Moira struggles. But this is just a quick update to where this hero currently is, but do let us know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, really does help out the channel. And until next time, take care, we'll see you then.